It all started like any other Tuesday shift at Mel's Diner. Same chipped Formica counter, same smell of stale coffee and frying bacon, same regulars shuffling in. Mel's isn't fancy, but it's reliable. And mostly, people are decent. One of the regulars I actually looked forward to seeing was Earl. He'd rumble up on this old, beautiful Harley, chrome gleaming even though it was probably older than me. He wasn't what you might picture when you think biker, more like somebody's grandpa who just happened to love motorcycles. Thin guy, maybe 70-something, with kind eyes behind thick glasses and hands that trembled just a little when he lifted his coffee cup. He always wore this old leather jacket, faded and soft-looking, with a couple of patches sewn on. Nothing scary, just eagles and flags and stuff. He'd sit in the back booth, order black coffee and a slice of apple pie and read his newspaper. Never caused a lick of trouble. Quiet, polite, always left a decent tip, even though I knew he was probably on a fixed income. So, Tuesday. It was around 3 p.m., that slow time between lunch rush and the dinner crowd starting to think about eating. Earl was in his usual booth, nursing his coffee. The bell over the door jangled, hard, and 3 teenagers swaggered in. You know the type, loud, baggy clothes trying too hard to look tough, sneakers squeaking on the linoleum, already laughing too loudly about nothing. They slid into the booth right across from Earl. I sighed inwardly. Teenagers could be hit or miss. Sometimes they were fine, sometimes they were pains. I grabbed some menus and headed over. "Hey folks, what can I get for ya?" They barely looked at me. Their eyes were locked on Earl. One of them, the loudest one with a stupid sideways baseball cap, snickered. "Check out the old man playing biker," his buddy chimed in. "Yeah, Grandpa, shouldn't you be in a rocking chair, not on that piece of junk?" Outside? My stomach tightened. Earl just lowered his newspaper slowly, didn't say anything, but I could see a little flush creep up his neck. His hand tightened on his coffee cup. "Leave him alone," I said, maybe a little sharper than I meant. "Two, what do you guys want to order?" The first kid smirked at me. "What's it to you, waitress? He your boyfriend?" They all laughed. It was mean laughter, the kind that likes to watch people squirm. "Look at that jacket," the third one said, pointing. "Probably smells like mothballs in desperation." That did it. Earl might be old, he might be quiet, but he was a person, a nice person, and he wasn't bothering anyone. Seeing them pick on him, knowing he probably wouldn't fight back, just made something hot flare up in my chest. "Hey," I said, louder this time, planting my hands on my hips. "That's enough. You order something or you get out. We don't tolerate bothering other customers here." The loud one stood up, trying to use his height to intimidate me. He wasn't much taller than me, really, just full of bluster. "Or what? You gonna call the cops, waitress?" "I will if I have to. Now are you eating or leaving?" My voice was shaking. A little, but I held my ground. I glanced at Earl. He looked small in his booth, his shoulders slumped. He gave me this tiny, grateful look, though, and that firmed up my spine. Just then, Mr. Henderson, the manager, bustled out from the back office. He hated any kind of confrontation. Bad for business, he always said. "What's going on out here? Keep it down." The kid immediately changed his tune. "This waitress is harassing us, Mr. Henderson. We just came in for some sodas and she started yelling at us. And this old creep," he jerked his thumb towards Earl, "was staring at us." My jaw dropped. "What? That's not what happened. They were bullying him." Mr. Henderson looked from the smirking teens to Earl, who looked mortified. Then, to me, his face pinched with annoyance. "Angie," he said, his voice tight, "just take their order and calm down. We don't need scenes." But Mr. Henderson, they were... "Angie," he cut me off, giving me that look, the one that says drop it or else. "My office, now." The teens snickered. Again, as I followed Mr. Henderson, my cheeks burning. In the tiny, cluttered office that always smelled faintly of bleach, he didn't even ask for my side of the story. "Angie, what were you thinking?" he hissed, adjusting his tie. "Rule number 1 is the customer is always right, even when they're obnoxious teenagers. You don't argue, you don't escalate. You smile, you serve, you keep the peace." But they were. Being cruel to Earl, he's a regular, he's harmless, it wasn't right. My voice was trembling with frustration and disbelief. Right? Henderson scoffed. Right doesn't pay the bills, Angie. Causing a scene drives away customers. Those boys' parents could complain. It's easier to just not get involved. Easier? It was wrong, Mr. Henderson. Someone has to stand up when people are being treated like that. He sighed, looking tired and annoyed. Look, Angie, you're usually a good waitress, but you've got a bit of a temper sometimes. And frankly, I can't have employees who pick fights with customers, regardless of the reason. It's bad for the diner's image. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. I'm going to have to let you go. Here's your final pay. Please collect your things and leave quietly. I just stared at him. Fired. Fired for stopping bullies? Fired for defending Earl? It felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. You're firing me? Because I stood up for an old man? I'm firing you because you caused a disturbance and alienated customers, he said stiffly, avoiding my eyes. It's policy. Tears pricked my eyes, hot and angry. I snatched the envelope. Fine, I choked out. Fine. I turned and walked out of the office, head held high even though I felt like crumbling. I grabbed my purse and my worn-out sweater from the hook by the back door. I didn't look at the teenagers, who were now laughing and sipping their sodas. I didn't look at Mr. Henderson, who was already wiping down the counter like nothing happened. Eyes did meet Earl's as I walked past his booth towards the front door. He looked absolutely heartbroken. His hand was still trembling, maybe even more now. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but I just gave a tiny, sad shake of my head and pushed the door open. The bell jangled mockingly behind me. Outside, the afternoon sun felt too bright. My legs felt shaky. Fired. Just like that. How was I going to make rent? What was I going to do? I walked down the block, tears finally spilling over and tracking hot paths down my cheeks. I felt so small, so angry, so useless. I ended up on a park bench a couple of blocks away just staring at the pigeons, the envelope with my last paycheck, feeling heavy and insulting in my hand. I did the right thing, didn't I? It felt right. But look where it got me. I must have sat there for ages. Maybe an hour, maybe more. My anger cooled down into a sort of numb dread. The sun started dipping. Lower, painting the sky orange and purple. I was trying to figure out my next move, scrolling through job listings on my phone with a sinking heart, when I heard it, a low rumble. At first, I thought it was a truck or maybe distant thunder, but it didn't fade. It got louder, deeper. It wasn't just one engine, it was dozens, scores, vibrating through the soles of my cheap sneakers, through the wooden slats of the bench, right into my bones. I looked up, confused. Down the street, heading towards Mel's Diner, was a motorcycle. Then another, and another. They kept coming. Harleys, Hondas, Indians, big ones, small ones, old ones, new ones. They filled the street, engine after engine roaring to life, then, settling into a throbbing, powerful idol. Men and women, young and old, wearing leather jackets, denim vests, club patches, bandanas. They weren't driving recklessly or looking for trouble. They moved with a kind of calm purposefulness, parking neatly along the curb, filling the diner's parking lot, spilling over into the lot next door. My heart started hammering against my ribs. What was going on? Then I saw him. Near the front of Vae. The pack, sitting proudly on his old Harley, was Earl. He wasn't trembling now. He sat straight, his jaw set, looking towards the diner. Someone must have told him where I went, or maybe he just guessed I wouldn't go far. Because suddenly, Earl was pulling his bike up near the park entrance. He cut the engine and swung his leg over, walking towards me. He still looked like somebody's grandpa, but there was a different light in his eyes now, a determined one. Angie, he said, his voice rough but clear. I am so sorry about what happened. It wasn't right. It wasn't your fault, Earl, I mumbled, wiping my eyes. He shook his head. You stood up for me. That means something. That means a lot. He gestured back towards the sea of bikes and bikers now standing quietly, respectfully, facing Mel's diner. I made a few calls to some friends, told them what happened. Word travels fast in our community. I stared at the sheer number of them. It had to be hundreds, 500 easily, just standing there, silent, waiting. It wasn't menacing, not exactly. It was solid, like a mountain range that had suddenly appeared on Main Street. What are they going to do? I whispered, suddenly scared Mr. Henderson might call the real cops. We just want to talk to the manager, Earl said calmly. Let him know that folks look out for each other. Let him know that what he did wasn't right. And that you, he looked me straight in the eye, are the kind of person we respect. A big guy with a long gray beard and arms covered in tattoos detached himself from the group near the diner and walked over with Earl. He didn't look mean, just serious. He nodded at me. Name's Tank, he said, his voice a low rumble like his bike's engine. Earl here tells us you showed some real backbone in there, defending him from those punks. I just nodded, unable to speak. Takes guts, Tank continued, especially when it costs you. We don't like bullies, and we don't like people getting punished for doing the decent thing. Earl's one of ours, and today you were one of ours too. Tears welled up again, but this time they felt different. Not sad, not angry, just overwhelming gratitude. All these people, strangers, showing up because one old man felt wronged, because one waitress lost her job for trying to help. Earl put a gentle hand on my shoulder. They just want to let Mr. Henderson know that his customers value decency. And that maybe, just maybe, he made a mistake letting you go. We walked slowly towards the diner, me flanked by Earl and Tank, the crowd of bikers parting silently to let us through. I could see Mr. Henderson's pale face peering through the blinds, in the window. He looked terrified. Tank and Earl went inside. I stayed on the sidewalk, surrounded by the quiet strength of all those bikers. I couldn't hear what was being said inside, but there was no shouting, no threats, just the low murmur of voices. After maybe 5 minutes, Tank and Earl came back out. Tank gave me another nod. He understands things a little better now, I think. Earl smiled, a real warm smile this time. He, seems to think he might have been a bit hasty, Angie. Might be worth talking to him again tomorrow, if you're inclined. I didn't know if I wanted my job back at that point, but looking around at the faces, weathered faces, young faces, male faces, female faces, all looking at me with quiet approval, I knew something more important had happened. I wasn't alone. Doing the right thing hadn't been useless after all. It had mattered to Earl, and it had mattered to his whole damn family, apparently. The bikers didn't linger. Their point was made. Engines started rumbling back to life, a rolling thunder that vibrated through the whole town. They pulled out one by one, Earl giving me a final wave before joining the procession. Within minutes, the street was quiet again, just the lingering smell of exhaust and the echo of engines in the evening air. I stood there for a long time, the envelope still in my hand, but feeling lighter than I had all day. Fired, yeah, but defended? Absolutely. And that felt, well, it felt pretty damn real, and pretty damn good.